Good evening. Let's go ahead and get started. But before we get started, I'm going to ask Mr. Charles Cox to please come here on the opening prayer, please.
I'll give you a moment to sit down. If you could join me in prayer. Our Father in heaven, we thank you for Selma. We thank you for its long history, for its iconic place in the history of civil rights. We thank you for its good people and the many good things happening here now. Now, we pray that you bless this gathering in our efforts to eliminate violent crime and make every neighborhood in Selma a safe neighborhood. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, first off, let me thank everyone for coming out tonight for this very productive and engaging meeting. Also, I would like to thank the U.S. Attorney, Mr. Moore, for being here, along with his staff. I'm going to ask Mayor Nelson if you would come up and bring greetings, and also followed by Councilwoman Thomas and Councilwoman Youngblood, because they are also on the Public Safety Committee with me.
Well, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Thank you all so much for coming out, being a part of this much-needed discussion, much-needed effort. For all of our federal state partners, thank you all for being here to be a part of this meeting tonight. I believe together as one Selma, we can drive out the issues that we have in the city and build a more united community together. So thank you all for coming out and being a part of this great moment. Thank you, President Bowie, for putting this meeting together, and we look forward to continuing to have this conversation to make sure we can address the crime issues here in historic Selma, Alabama. But again, thank you for coming out, and we look forward to your participation in this meeting.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I want to thank everyone for coming out this evening to take part in this public safety meeting because it's very important to the city of Selma. We need this meeting, and I hope this meeting, before we will adjourn and grow more, because we need to be open more about what's going on in our community and in our wards.
Good evening. Thank y'all for coming out. We have a lot of issues to resolve in the community. We have issues that didn't start yesterday, didn't start today, and it's not going to be solved today, not going to be solved tomorrow. But if we work together, if we let folks who are here to help us work with us, and we work with them, then we can work together to help get some things resolved. We're not going to make things go away, but we can work together to make Selma the livable town that we love and that we know it can be. Thank you all for being with us. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Police Chief Spencer Carter. If you would please come forward to talk about strategies and updates to combat crime. And I'm going to modify the agenda and ask Assistant Chief Graham to come up after. What's that now? Okay, all right, Assistant Chief Graham, please come forward. And then we'll bring up Chief Carter. And then we would have the U.S. Attorney, Mr. Richard Moore, to come up to finalize any questions that we would have. I'm planning on being out here at 7:30. Okay? So let's be very about decorum. Let's be very mindful and respect one another. All right. Assistant, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Assistant Chief Bruce Ray. I've been with the Selma Fire Department for going on 24 years. I'm up here on behalf of Chief Stevens. He's out today. I've discussed some things with him that he wanted to bring forward, that there's some issues going on within our department. First of all, administrative issues. Currently, we're waiting to get approval from the mayor's office for the implementation of the fire investigators that were approved by City Council on January 8, 2019, and also for the staff personnel to get paid overtime for working extra shifts to assist with the manpower issues going on in the department. Currently, we're waiting on our personnel department to administer a promotional test for the rank of captain, lieutenant, and sergeant positions within the fire department. For the year 2018, we have had approximately 13 personnel that have resigned and 2 personnel that have retired. This year, 2019, there will be approximately 4 personnel that will be eligible for retirement. As these personnel leave the department, there needs to be an eligible register list to promote the next rank to fill those positions. Currently, our minimum staffing levels are 15 personnel per shift with 3 shifts, A, B, and C shift. It's a total of 45 personnel that need to cover the city 365 days a year on a minimum basis. There are 17 positions split between these 3 shifts that have to be filled with personnel that are having to work extra 24 hours in order to operate at bare minimum standard. 7 personnel are held on A shift, 5 personnel are held on B shift, and another 5 personnel that are held on C shift. This number rises when the personnel calling sick or out on approved vacation leave. This is occurring due to firemen leaving for higher paying salaries and recently having to be held to work 48-hour shifts. Our manpower situation is really low at this point, and our firefighters are exhausted for working back-to-back shifts. Our firefighters are leaving at an alarming rate, and this is a cause for concern. Currently, we have 8 applicants that have applied for the position of firefighter, and 2 out of those 8 applicants passed a recent certified physical agility test conducted on February the 8th. 6 of those applicants that failed the agility test advised that they would return on March the 8th and retake that test. We are waiting on a date from the personnel department to conduct a written exam for those 2 applicants that have passed the test in order to proceed through the hiring process. We've also started receiving applications for the 9 part-time certified firefighters. These are certified firefighters that work full-time in other fire departments or may be retired firemen. Currently, we have 2 certified firefighters and 1 retired fireman that have turned in applications for that part-time position. We are also waiting on the personnel department to start the hiring process for these applicants. Our fire staff and fire personnel have not been able to attend the mandatory training that is required. Each request has been denied to attend that. It is in the budget for the training expenditures for that. The turnaround for purchase orders has become an issue when a quote is received is only good for 30 days, and the vendors are not able to honor that quote past the 30 days. We're not receiving those purchase orders in a timely manner. And part of that is Squad 4. We have currently waiting on a purchase order. That equipment was quoted for Squad 4 brush truck back in September and is reissued for a second time the 1st of December. This vehicle is purchased through grant funding. Cannot be put into service without this equipment. It's also required by law to decommission this vehicle after 30 days after receiving the grant vehicle by the city clerk's office, and this may cause future grant funding issues that we apply for in the fire service. That's all I have for y'all today, issues that are impacting the fire department at this time. I appreciate your time.
Good evening. I'm Chief Spencer Collier, Police Chief here in Selma. Just celebrated my 2nd year here. I apologize, I'm going to be a little more lengthy. I have quite quite a bit of ground to cover. But I do see the U.S. Attorney and much of his staff is here, so I won't be redundant. I'll save some of the issues I was going to discuss for his office. I do want to recognize my staff. Captain Johnny King is here. He oversees operations, both patrol and CID, and I think Captain Natasha Fox is here. If not, she should be on her way. She's our administrator captain. If you look to the corner here, that's most of our, well, not most, but several of our investigators and our special operations unit. I think they're all part of our FAST team. Normally at this point we discuss regular business. I just speak to council president and the mayor, and we'll address that later. But there is one substantial issue that has to be discussed, and that is vehicle needs. We currently need to surplus vehicles that are absolutely not roadworthy and unsafe. Additionally, I look forward to addressing either a work session or the council at the right time and make a recommendation that we divert at least $50,000 annually of our vehicle maintenance expenditures. Last year we spent $111,000 on vehicle maintenance. We can just divert $50,000 of that a year. We can lease as many as 8 vehicles a year that come with a maintenance program. So that's a very easy way to update a very outdated fleet without asking for any additional money. That is just a better appropriation, and I look forward to the opportunity to present that in detail. I do want to add, because it comes up, in the past we have purchased off state bid. I have received a bid from the new Long Lewis Ford now, and I've also met with Mr. Turner at Turner Chevrolet, and I did miss a call from him a while ago, so I presume that his bid is ready or close. And just so you know, we don't have to purchase off state bid. If you can be within 5% of the state bid, then we can purchase locally. So of course, if we can do business locally, we want to do business locally. Additionally, as part of that problem, in addition to diverting $50,000 of the maintenance money, I think another simple solution is diverting any payment or insurance payments for vehicles that are salvaged or that are paid, that have been damaged or totaled, into a new line item vehicle lease program. And then additionally, any sale of any surplus vehicles used the same. So again, I'm not talking about or asking for any additional money. I fully recognize that we have city employees who are laid off at the moment. So I'm just asking for an opportunity to put forward a plan with the existing funding we have that I believe is a wiser expenditure, where we can update our fleet, and most importantly, I can keep those guys safe and keep them in roadworthy vehicles. So I appreciate you guys at least letting me discuss that briefly, and we'll discuss it more in detail at the proper opportunity for city business. I do want to discuss, and I know Mr. Moore will cover this more in depth, but one of the successes that we had, and one that we're going to continue to have as we move forward, is development of an LECC program here. Well, I guess we've always had one. Generally, we met in the spring once a year for a 2 or 3 day training. A huge difference starting 7 or 8 months ago, Gina.
Yes, sir.
We started meeting monthly. At a time we met every other week, but at least monthly. If you go back 8 months ago, those meetings started with us all knowing each other, but in law enforcement, you're generally suspicious of pretty much everybody in a different uniform than you. What I can tell you that has changed to is you go from that 8 months ago to maybe a participation of 10 to 15 people to yesterday's meeting, where the room was packed with every federal partner that you can think of that was there. The U.S. Attorney's Office, very well represented. SBI was present. The 4th Judicial Drug Task Force, the DA was present. And just the vibe in the room, you could tell we have made tremendous strides. And I think our ultimate goal is to continue that because, as you know, we have to have the assistance of our state and federal and other local partners. We just do not have the resources to combat the level of violent crime that we are dealing with. So, as many of you know, I told you when I took the job, the mandate that I was given was engage our federal partners, engage our state partners, engage our other local partners, and we've done that, even to the point where we're not just using or asking assistance from the 4th Judicial Drug Task Force, which is our home here. We're literally having other judicial drug task forces come in from other parts of the state assisting us during saturation periods. And in 2018, we had over a dozen saturation details. 4 or 5 of those, we had as many as 40 to 50 extra police officers, state, local, and federal law enforcement officers here assisting us in Selma, and it absolutely made a difference, and we will continue that moving forward. To add on to that, from a law enforcement perspective, we continue to see a problem, not with every nightclub establishment in the city, but with quite a few. To the point where one of my officers was injured Saturday just trying to peacefully close down the bar at 2 a.m. pursuant to city ordinances. I want to be abundantly clear. I am not going to tolerate my officers being hurt because our clubs are allowing unruly behavior or not adhering to the city ordinances, which requires a minimum amount of security officers, a working video surveillance security program, in addition to the multiple ABC violations that SBI enforces. So moving forward, we will continue to ask for assistance, but it's an area that concerns me, and we'll continue to address it. At the proper time, I will again renew my request to the council to back up that closing time on Saturday into Sunday morning from 2 a.m. to 12 a.m. Just that 2-hour time difference could make the difference with the number of officers I have available on the street. And again, that's another strategy that doesn't cost us a penny that I think can help reduce crime. I'll skip over the Weed and Seed program some more. We'll cover that. I do want to say I got a chance to participate in the executive committee meeting today. It was very productive. It was very good. It was a good cross-section of business leaders in the community, law enforcement partners, of course, the U.S. Attorney's Office, and I think we have a good outline moving forward. And looking around, everyone probably pretty much recognizes or remembers the term weed and seed. There's probably a generation right below us or right below me. I'm older than some of you guys that don't understand what weed and seed is. But I can tell you there's been past successes here in Selma. There's been successes in the city of Pritchard with such programs. And we look forward to this one as we move forward. Some of the strategies as we're moving forward, you just have to understand I can't discuss in an open forum. It's law enforcement sensitive. But what I can tell you is I routinely update leadership when it's necessary and when it's appropriate. And we'll tell you we have no better partner than the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, not just through personnel, but through technical assistance and equipment. They are absolutely committed to assisting us in resolving gun violence. We disproportionately have a gun violence problem in the city of Selma, and it is overwhelmingly large caliber rifles. Back in the summer, I actually had the percentage, but it's still going to be somewhere between 60 to 70%. I'm looking at my investigators now, either for a thumbs up or a thumbs down, but it's above 50%. The shootings we're seeing are are rifles of a caliber 223, 5.56, or 7.62. These are rifles that 20 years ago you would only see in the military. And not only are we seeing them, they're shooting at my officers or shooting my officers with these guns. So, as you guys all know, unfortunately, in the fall, we had an officer that was shot. He was shot 2 times. That's Officer Micah Hill. I'm proud to tell you that Officer Hill returned to work last week. Monday was his first day back. Yes, clap for him. On Micah's very first day back to work, he joined me to speak to the Breakfast Club at Selma High School. If you guys are familiar, I mean, that's a group of young men, I believe juniors and seniors. And Judge Pettaway spoke first, and then I spoke, and I'd love to tell you that we garnered their attention and we got through to them. What I can tell you is Officer Micah Hill spoke directly to them and got their attention, and it was silence, eye contact, and the respect he was due when he spoke. And I'll tell you, as his chief, I was very, very proud of him. And walking away, he literally told me, Chief, if I just reached one of them, it's worth it. And I said, Micah, I promise you got more than one of them. So just an incredible example of this community. He's an alumni of Selma High, and we're proud to have him back. That'll lead me into an issue that's very important to me. One of the deficiencies, part of doing this job is identifying gaps, doing gap analysis and deficiencies, is that we have not had access to rifle-rated ballistic protection. In Micah's situation, he was shot twice with a 223 without a vest, and only by the grace of God that he lived. Generally, if you're shot with that type of weapon, even with soft body armor on, you're generally not going to survive. I think I have beat the drum continuously about the need for that. So I want to thank the community that has stepped forward. Rex Jones is not here, his parents are here, but I'm not going to embarrass him. Rex took the initiative to work with some local businesses, community leaders. He put together the cemetery run and not only raised money for the police department, also for the fire department, but identified. What impressed me is he reached out and said, they want to know what our most pressing need was. It was the need for rifle-rated ballistic vests. Well, I can proudly tell you that last Monday, and how ironic, we didn't plan it this way. Officer Hill's first day back, Rex backed up his pickup truck to the police department and delivered us 28 of these. That night, I issued them to that night shift, and that very same night, we had a violent robbery spree. But I can tell you, for the first time, our officers had rifle-rated ballistic wear-on dealing with an individual that carjacked someone that started in Valley Grand with an AK-47, robbed an individual at Winn-Dixie, stole the vehicle, and there's some other misdemeanors in there we hadn't even got to yet, some reckless endangerment things. A very alert patrol sergeant spotted the vehicle, took one into custody without incident. We recovered that AK-47, and after a foot chase with another, we took him into custody, and I'm happy to tell you, night before last, the third suspect voluntarily surrendered. So all three of those were brought, or at least arrested. They'll be given their opportunity for due process. I'm going to do something kind of rare for me. I want to praise the media. I made a decision that was really a joke, by the way. I made a decision when the third suspect had used about his fourth or fifth time of promising to turn himself in, and he didn't do it. I made a decision to go ahead and release his photograph, reach out to the local media as quick as I could, and local media and AL.com got the information up literally within 20 minutes of me sending it to them. And by 11 p.m. that night, he peacefully surrendered with his family, and he was taken into custody, no officer was put in danger, he was not put in danger. So I appreciate, that's a good example of a cooperative effort with the media to resolve law enforcement issues. I do want to continue to talk about, just real briefly, about collaborative partnerships. We are in the development stages of a collaborative agreement or partnership with the school system. Ultimately, it has to be approved there first, but I look forward to the council getting an opportunity to review it. I can tell you it's progressive, and it's I think it's a win-win for the school system and for the Selma Police Department as we hopefully can implement this in the very near future. Additionally, we recently had a chance to meet with the Selma Ministerial Alliance, and they have identified a three-pronged strategy as well. They want to partner with law enforcement and the school system, which kind of matches the same strategy that we're striving to do. So we already have a willing partner in place, and that has gone very well. We look forward to continuing to work with them. It's important when you do these things, you don't want to leave people out. But I'll be here all night if I thank all the people that I need to thank. But I do want to talk about this collaboration with the school system. What an incredible difference. It's been joyful to work with the new superintendent. And if you guys have not met her, I challenge you to do that. And I don't know if she's here tonight or not, but she's been very progressive and very demonstrated willingness to want to partner with us. Additionally, we cannot combat major issues unless we pretty much have every player at the table. One of the deficiencies we've had in the past is total buy-in from the Selma Housing Authority. I can tell you, since Kennard Randolph has been put in place as the executive director, we've seen a 180-degree turnaround. And not only do we have a partnership, we have an access that in the past that generally required us to get a search warrant or a judicial order to get the information that we needed. So just to have the ability to reach out, I can get Kennard on the phone, or one of our investigators can get Kennard on the phone, it absolutely makes a difference. It's not a secret anywhere that we are struggling in GWC. I can tell you that we met recently, and I do think there are some progressive ideas. It's not my place to announce them, but there are some ideas that are being forwarded that I know will improve officer morale and officer safety, as well as the safety of the residents there in GWC. I'll try and wrap up so we can get on the business, and then I'm sure, Mr. President, I understand that your goal is to address questions as well at the end. Okay. So I'll wait on that. I do want to finalize by saying that sometimes timing is the best friend you can have. And just out of the blue, this week I received a call from Paul Alexander, Scott Communications, who offered us the opportunity to have a weekly radio show. So that went from a phone call yesterday to at 9 a.m. in the morning, I will begin a weekly radio show on 94.7 WJAM. Did I say that like a DJ? No, not even close. So we look forward to that. That'll start in the morning. Additionally, there's a national program called Coffee with a Cop. And it's exactly that. It's a very informal situation where there's an opportunity for citizens over a cup of coffee to get the opportunity to meet and get to know not just the police chief, but the law enforcement officer of the Selma Police Department. I can tell you that we are going to start participating in that program, and the first Coffee with a Cop is scheduled for February 20th. That's next Wednesday at 8:30 a.m. at the Performing Arts Center here in town. Our goal moving forward is to do this monthly, and that's a pretty ambitious goal. Moving forward, what I would like to do, as opposed to in the first one, of course, the city will host, we'll provide the coffee and even the donuts. Y'all can make the donut jokes. But what I'd also like to do moving forward monthly is maybe partner with a different restaurant each time, and also maybe stimulate the restaurants and help their economy. So the goal is to do that monthly. We need to scale that back. We will, but I look forward to that. It's been a successful program throughout the country, and we look forward to doing that. So last thing I'm going to do is I recognize my officers. What I can tell you is I policed at the local level, the state level, and I partnered as a head of the state police with every federal agency you can think of. We have as good a group of law enforcement officers of any I've ever worked with in my life. They're hardworking, they're dedicated to the point where sometimes I have to say, you've got to go home and get some rest. I don't think they are recognized enough for what they do and what they contribute. Unfortunately, they hear the complaint side, they rarely get the praise side. It's not just this group here that speaks for patrol, our criminal investigative division, our special operations unit, our FAST team. We have a certified tactical team in Selma, if you're not aware, and they just got certified in a dynamic or an explosive breach. I know that's inside baseball, but in law enforcement terms, that's a pretty big deal. So thank you. That's what I was going to ask. It goes a long way. So if you see them on the street, see these guys that are working, a thank you goes a long way, and it really, really helps morale. I'll wrap up with it by saying this. I'll give you my opinion, and then feel free to speak to any officer you see. Don't gauge what's going on at the Selma Police Department by what a defense attorney says, or I don't know, just pundit says. Ask that officer himself. Now, I will tell you, I pointed out our problem, it's vehicle needs. Beyond that, I can tell you, we have the most cohesive unit in my 2-year tenure at the Selma Police Department, and I'll line these guys up against anyone. Well, anyway, I've gone on long enough. I look forward to the opportunity to address any questions at the end of the program. You want me to introduce Mr. Moore? Do you want to do that? I'll let you do that, sir. Well, I know he's here. I'll talk to him. Mr. Richard Moore, let me tell you, he's the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Alabama. I can tell you, he has not only taken an interest in Selma, he has not just in his staff, he is physically in Selma quite a bit. The amount of time and effort that he puts into what we're trying to do collectively in addressing violent crime in Selma, just his presence demonstrates his commitment. And we are so very proud to have that. And you as a resident, I don't want to say that's unusual, but I'm going to tell you it's special. It is different. That's not criticizing anything in the past. It's different. And we're proud to have him. And I think Gina just walked out. I also want to thank her, one of the career prosecutors, Gina Van, who's fantastic at what she does. Jimmy Davis is our new law enforcement coordinator. And with that, I will introduce our U.S. Attorney for the Southern District, Mr. Richard Moore.
Well, good evening, Selma. So I hope to be back with you on other occasions like this. I know you're here tonight because you care about Selma and you're concerned about the violent crime that you're experiencing in your communities. So I want to talk a little bit about what we think we might be able to do to help in that regard. And Chief Collier, thank you for your cooperation. Your fine officers, you're right. They're providing great assistance to us on the federal side, and we appreciate that. You got a great sheriff, Mike Grantham. He's also providing us a lot of help and assistance. So you heard my staff introduced. I'm not sure, Eric, we introduced you. If you'd stand. Eric Day is our victim witness coordinator, and Eric, like everybody else on our staff, has been in Selma a lot. Thank you, Eric. And I'll just say, we look for people to come up from the U.S. Attorney's Office from Mobile who get Selma. And what I mean by get Selma is realize how special you are, the historic, iconic reputation and history of this city. There's a reason why your city was called the Queen of the South at one time. And I had somebody the other day say, y'all keep coming up here, you're going to move up here. And, 6-8 months ago, I'd laughed at that. I laughed out loud. But I'm going to tell you, there's a lot that's attractive about Selma, Alabama. And the more I come, the more I appreciate what that is. First of all, you've got some really great people here. And we're getting to know them, which is really exciting. My staff, I can just tell you, I don't have to go around with a big stick trying to get them to come up here. They want to come to Selma. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the Weed and Seed program that Chief Collier talked about a little bit. But before I do that, I want to get Dwight Brown to come up. He is an ATF officer. Dwight, come on up. And Dwight is our head ATF guy in Mobile. He's new to Mobile. And we're excited about having Dwight here. And on his own initiative, he came to me and said, I want to do something special for Selma, and I'm going to let him spend a few minutes telling you about that. Dwight?
Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Again, my name is Dwight Brown. They only gave me about 3 minutes, so I'm going to be quick. Just a little bit about myself. I'm celebrating my 29th year in law enforcement. I'm from the city of Atlanta, dirty South. During my 29 years, I've been stationed in Houston, Montgomery, D.C., Atlanta, D.C., now we're Mobile. I think I've done enough. Alabama is not my home, but it's not home now. I've moved enough. I have ties to Selma in that back in the day when I was a deacon in Atlanta, I had a church full of former residents of Selma. Some came back. When they knew I was here, they said, Brown, we need your help. That got me thinking. And what we have created, I'm talking to Mr. Moore, I spent I only got here in November. The last, say, 3 weeks, meeting with local partners, we've decided to stand up a task force. The task force is called Strategic Selma Firearms Enforcement Task Force. And the aim of the task force is to combat violent crime. Not only firearms, people prohibited. Where there's violent crime, we plan on investigating that violent crime. Whether that's through the federal prosecution, I've met with Mr. Jackson, so it will be local prosecution. The task force will be made up of ATF, the city of Selma PD, Dallas County Sheriff's Office, ALEA, Attorney General's Office, and the 4th Judicial Bureau Task Force. We plan on bringing some proactive approaches. We did it. I was a supervisor in Atlanta for 6 years. We did it in Atlanta. It was very successful. I'm not going to make promises. I'm saying that we're going to come down here and we're going to try. But what I'm going to need help from the citizens. When we're doing investigations, we're going to need you all to talk to us. Right now, we don't have a line for you all to call, but I'll come back at another meeting and we'll get that line out, that number out. So when you have information, we're going to give you that number. But mainly, we're going to need you all to talk, because we're going to work together, but we need the citizens to help us out. Thank you.
Thank you, Dwight. So let me just pick up on what you just heard Dwight say. You need to spread the word. We need to spread the word that there's a role for citizens in this community to play in law enforcement. Sometimes we get to thinking that we hired these police folks to do everything. They can't do everything. We need your help. One way that you can help us is when you see something that looks amiss, is figure out how to get the word to the police department. You got citizens all across Selma who see things, and then sometimes they say or they think, I hope somebody does something about that. I hope somebody calls the police. That needs to be you. So spread the word. You've got a role to play. The other thing you can do, when you get that notice that you've been summoned for jury duty, take that as an honor and go down to the courthouse. And when you get there, don't be trying to think of ways you can get out of it. We need you on our juries, all right? Now the reality is people don't usually like to sit on juries. I get that. But the only way we're going to be able to do this is if we all go together. And one thing you can do is encourage the people in your community, if they get that notice to be on a jury, show up and serve proudly. Now, what you do in the jury deliberation room, that's up to you. Whatever the evidence is, you need to call it like you see it. But we need citizen participation. And I will say this about your community. There is a question. There is a question in the minds of a lot of folks, particularly outside of Selma, whether you, as the citizens of this community, have the will to do what needs to be done in Selma. All right? Now, I'll just tell you, my experience is you've got a lot of people who are willing to do more than talk. You got a lot of people who are willing to do the very kind of things I talked about. They're stepping up, they're serving on juries, they're calling the police, and they're not saying, I hope the police take care of that. They're stepping up. We had some of you, I don't know people in this room, but we had some folks when we were coming out of the courthouse a couple of weeks ago after Gina Van. Gina, raise your hand again. I'm sure everybody sees it. Gina's one of our veteran trial lawyers. She tried a convicted felon of having a firearm in front of a Selma jury. And before people on the street even heard what the jury was, they were stopping on the street in front of the federal courthouse to tell us how much they appreciated us being here. And we see that all over town, all right? But I just want to say this to you. As much confidence as I have in my prosecutors and the people on our staff, we cannot prosecute our way out of this problem, all right? We are taking a lot of people off the street. We will continue to do that. We're good at it. We will do it. Some of these people that have disappeared from Selma, they're not at Disney World. They're in the federal pen. All right? So we know how to do that, and we're going to continue to do it. But let me just say this. Once we get this current crop of little gangbangers or, thugs on the street, whatever you want to call them, once we get rid of them, there's another crop behind them. Now the challenge for you as a city is if we give you some time and space to hold back the flood of crime in Selma, if you can do what needs to be done to avoid having a repeat of what you're having now. So that's what weed and seed is all about, that you heard Chief Collier refer to. The weeding, all right, is taking out those shooters, trigger pullers, the worst of the worst. That's the weeding part. And that's what we do. The federal side and our local partners and the state law enforcement folks. And again, we can do that. I'm pretty confident that we can get them off the street. The most important part, though, is what follows, which is the seeding. The seeding is when you, as a community, figure out what you need to do to make sure that second crop of little gangbangers and thugs and the worst of the worst doesn't show back up. All right? So the Weed and Seed program is something where we bring together citizens in the community who are willing to step up and help us. And it's represented from law enforcement, from people doing social programs and the different kind of educational things, some folks who know economic development and funding, how to get grant money and the kind of resources that you need, and also people who know how to get the word out about Selma. And what you seem to have been missing, and I'm going to go to preaching here in a minute, what you seem to be missing is, despite the fact that you have a lot of good things going on in that way in terms of the seed, but you're not together and you don't necessarily know what each other's doing. You're stovepipe. And so as a result of that, you don't have what we call synergy. Synergy is when you come together for a mutual purpose and you're pulling in the same direction at the same time with the same purpose. Successful communities do that. You do not have the luxury of having petty squabbles with each other. You don't have the luxury of running down your neighbors or the police department or the mayor or the city council. I'll just tell you, everybody's got to step up and do what they need to do. I don't have any doubt that all of us, including the U.S. Attorney, can do a better job. The mayor will probably tell you he can do a better job. Chief Collier, same kind of thing. All of us can do a better job. Whether or not you save Selma, though, is going to turn on what you do as citizens. So we're going to be reaching out to you. We're going to be talking to you. We have talked to a lot of folks already. The Weed and Seed program is about to get off the ground. We had our very first meeting this morning. We had, I think, a good commitment of those folks there. This is not about us all getting together and having coffee and donuts. It's some serious stuff that people have to commit to. All right? And so over the next couple of months, you're going to see some announcements about what we're doing, what we're announcing in terms of priorities, and the strategy that we're going to use. And again, we need your help to do that. And if you give me a chance, Bowie, I'll be back and talking to these folks again. So I just want to leave you with one other thought. This notion that people would shoot a police officer. Can I just talk to you about that a minute? All right. Somehow or another, there's some folks that didn't get the memo. All right? You do not shoot a police officer. You do not shoot a police officer. If you do, this U.S. Attorney is going to do everything I can to bring the full weight of the federal government against you. We're going to do it all legal. We're going to make sure we don't violate anybody's rights. But if you shoot one of our police officers, a federal agent, a deputy sheriff, we are going to come after you. Now, I don't know why, it seems to be a generational thing. There was a time where folks are out committing crimes and all that, you don't shoot a cop. Somehow or another that's been lost. I'm just telling you, I'm going to be a part of all the U.S. attorneys across the country, because we've been talking about this for some time, to stand up and say, you do not shoot a cop. All right? Now, I think you know why that's important. If somehow or another, little knuckleheads out there in the community think shooting at a police officer or harming a police officer in some way is not that big a deal, you might have a hard time recruiting people to be police officers. At some point, that thin blue line gets way too thin. All right? So you have a real vested interest in supporting your police and making sure you help get the word out. Get the word out that you do not shoot a police officer. Now, having said that, we have very high standards for our police officers. I mean, Chief Collier will tell you that. We expect them to be professional and respectful of everybody in the community. And if they violate our trust, we're going to come after them too. All right? We're not going to tolerate police officers violating anybody's rights or doing the kind of things that none of us want to countenance. But I'll just say, there's got to be a new day in Selma, Alabama when it comes to police officers. So we're going to do what we can to help the police chief and Michael Jackson anytime we hear about a law enforcement person being disrespected or injured. So you can help us in getting that word out. Now, having said that, I'd also say there are a lot of ways that we can make sure that kids start to have a different view of policemen. And that starts in the home. You know, not every parent's going to do what they need to do in terms of talking to their kids about police officers, but we need to try. We need to try to educate parents. We need to make sure in our schools we take every opportunity to talk to students about the importance of respecting police officers. One way we do this in Mobile is we have a program called Bridging the Gap, and I'm going to try to do what I can to bring that here to Selma. And the gist of it is we take 9th graders out onto the shooting range and we show them what kind of decisions officers have to make on the street sometimes very quickly under bad circumstances. And we encourage students to think about the kind of bad positions you can put a police officer in sometime if you have an encounter with a police officer. We have them sit in a car and have a mock traffic stop, so they're in the car and a police officer comes up and they have this encounter. Because we don't want any harm to come to our kids, right? We want them to know what they need to do to be safe under those circumstances. And again, we expect our police officers to be respectful and professional. But that's the kind of a program that just makes sense. I wish I could take credit for having started that program. I didn't. My predecessor, Kenyon Brown, is a friend of mine, started that in the last administration. And I talked to Kenyon, and it just made sense. It just makes sense to educate our kids about encountering police officers. So I'll end with this. I am encouraged by what I see. I'm encouraged by the extent of cooperation that we're getting from people here in the community, the police department, sheriff's department, the DAs, all the folks who recognize, and I don't think this is too strong to say, but this may be Selma's last chance. We're here in force. We're putting a lot of time and money in Selma. And we're going to give you a chance. We're going to create the dam to hold back the water for a period of time. It's going to be up to you in terms of what happens next. So I look forward to working with you. Thank you for having us tonight.
Now it's time for the Q&A. If you have any questions, if you please would just stand up and I'll bring the mic to you so you can come to the mic. Let me also recognize some of my council members, Councilman LaShore, Councilman Johnson, and Councilwoman President Pro Tem Benjamin. Councilman Coca-Cola. Then recognize what you had on.
We've talked about Selma. Is there going to be a process for the police jurisdiction for Selma? Will there be a process where Selma can get involved in the legal C program in some way, or at least be positioned? Because once you run them out of Selma, they may come across the river or some other places in the police jurisdiction. Does anybody put that on the table?
Well, I mean, we are doing analysis about the hottest areas. We're limited on resources just like everybody else is. So part of the process we're going through is saying, okay, we've got limited resources, where do we need to put them? So our priority, frankly, is downtown Selma. I mean, you know, GWC, and you know, issues, places like that. It's going to take a concentrated effort to do that. But I'm expecting some success, and at some point, let's try this. At some point, our hope would be to spread out. But we're going to start downtown Selma, see how that goes first.
Thank you. Everyone else?
Yeah, I was going to ask a question. Is there anything that the police department can do about these like New Year shooting with these guns? Because this past New Year, I was sitting in my bedroom and somebody bullet came down through the ceiling, and my neighbor, one came down through his ceiling, came all the way in his kitchen. I just want to know, is there anything that y'all can do about it?
Yes, sir, we can, and thank you for that question. That's a problem. You know, some of these issues are unique to Selma. That one is not. That's an issue in Birmingham. It's an issue in Selma. It's an issue in Mobile. That's going to take a joint effort of education, explaining to the public, and perhaps we can do a better job next year. I did notice that Birmingham really heavily addressed that going into the holiday season. So from a PR standpoint, maybe moving forward, it's not just New Year's Eve, it's 4th of July as well. Maybe a PR blitz. What you're going to see is enhanced PSAs for most public service announcements, and that's one of the ones that perhaps we can address. The education part is people have got to understand, I don't claim to be a rocket scientist or a physicist, but if it goes up, it's going to come down. And it's definitely a problem on New Year's Eve. It's a problem 4th of July. I can tell you that we try and staff very heavily on those holiday periods. But what I'll commit to you is that we'll do a better job on the PR side of addressing that. Kind of similar to what Birmingham did this year. It's a very good question. Mr. Williams, you brought up a very good, if I may, Mr. President, you brought up a very good point. Keep in mind, our police jurisdiction extends 3 miles outside of the corporate limits, but it doesn't quite incorporate all of Selma. But a good portion of it, it does. But also keep in mind that that Sheriff Grantham is involved in what we're doing. And so I do think there's representation at the table. But that's a very good question.
This question is for Attorney Moore. Attorney Moore, first of all, thank you all for your presence in Selma, Alabama. Thank you for the Weed and Seed program. I'd love for it to come back. I had hands in it directly when it was in Selma some years ago. I met Gina about a month ago, but Eric and I have known each other for quite some time, a very long time. And the last thing we left off doing, Eric, was the super weed and seed. We had contiguous boards that had violent crime at that time. And you and I and Nikki Reeves, we left off with a big map working on super weed and seed attorney work. So and because of weed and seed, we were able, the program that I work with, we were able to get $1.5 million because you all, the office, signed off on the weed and seed program. Would you be willing to sign off on the program again also? And would you expound on super weed and seed if you plan on bringing that part at all?
I have to confess, that's the first time I ever heard that term.
I should have asked for Eric.
Yeah. Eric, you want to come up and talk about that? That sounds like a great thing, a super weed and seed. That's what we're looking for, but I'm not sure I'm familiar with that term. Eric?
Well, all that super weed and seed really involved. When the weed and seed program got first started, it was designed to address what we call a target area. And the target area had a certain perimeter and had to have certain requirements as related to crime. Super weed and seed was really we wanted to encompass bigger wards. Like when we first started, it was Ward 8. When we came back on the second time, we began to look at the other areas and we said we need to expand it. And so we did put together another grant to address that. But what happened with time, the Weed and Seed program as a whole ended. And so that pretty much stopped the Weed and Seed program. And the reason it stopped was because when President Obama took over, he was going to redesign the Weed and Seed program. So he zeroed the money out for Weed and Seed to create a new program. And then we had the fiscal crisis, and so there was no funding given. And so that's what happened with Super Weed and Seed.
So thank you, Eric. Eric is a pro on weed and seed. I'll tell you that. He's the one that introduced me to that program. That's the reason we stood it up. It just made sense to do it again. Weed and Seed is not an official program of the Justice Department anymore. The new program is PSN, Project Safe Neighborhoods. We're just using weed and seed and that nomenclature because that's what you know here, and you had some success with it. But it's really our PSN program. That's the program that is funded, Project Safe Neighborhoods. And we've applied for some grant money through PSN to funnel into Selma and to apply to some programs here.
There are a couple of issues that I want to just lift up. Is it on? I'm at the church. I pastor a church that's right there, a red brick church that's right in the heart, the center of GWC. On the 24th, where a lot of the activity, the park, also forth and so on. We know a lot of people there. We provide food ministry on a monthly basis. 60 or so families per month, developing some relationships. There are some good people there. There's some elements that make life miserable for the people who want the same thing that you want, that I want, the same thing you want for your children and your grandchildren that I want for my children and my grandchildren. There's some very good people there, and there's some people who are making their lives miserable. And so we applaud all of that, but don't forget in the process that there's some very good people there who want the same thing, have the same dreams, the same hopes, just as afraid or scared of the elements that bring the negativity as anyone else is. On the 24th, Brown Chapel is honoring, appreciating, doing some of what you encourage the county and city law enforcement officers. The probate judge is going to be the speaker,
and Congresswoman Terry Sewell is providing certificates of appreciation and recognition for all who will be in attendance. So we're doing some of that. However long you're going to be here, and thank God you're here, at some point you're going to leave. While you're here, you're supplementing local law enforcement, which is understaffed. You say this is the last shot. If you don't get it right this time, there's not going to be another chance. How are you going to be effective when the local police department, it doesn't have vets, vehicles, enough money to hire enough police officers while you're here or after you're gone? There's something that's got to be done now to identify budget line items and possible potential sources of revenue that address those issues so that you can be the most effective while you're here, and God forbid after you're gone. And the sense of it's code blue. You're describing a code blue situation. And something, those who make those decisions, if this is the last chance, those who make those decisions have got to develop line items. I heard some proposals, and there's got to be some consensus developed around addressing those issues, or everything you do here potentially is down the drain 30 days after you go, and you won't even be as effective as you might have otherwise would have been unless those issues are addressed. That's got to be done. The other thing, and I'm through, other people want, is I understand meeting in restaurants, they have coffee, but if you want to develop those relationships with people who provide feedback, you may want to go to a church that will provide donuts and coffee, and people who will shake hands with police officers and get to know them. If you really wanted to trust you enough to begin providing the kind of feedback that will be helpful to you.
I think all of us agree with you about that. And you know, how you as a community decide to fund your police department is your decision. I'll just say it's making it harder for us on the federal side for your police department to be as raggedy as they are. They're doing a great job what they have, but if you want to maximize the power that we're bringing on the federal side, you probably need to think about making some changes. And you know, this goes back to the point I made earlier. There's a question about whether the community has the will. And whether you have the will is not determined by what people say. It's what you do to support your police department. Now, you have a right to expect the very best when you invest in them. But it just looks like to me, from an outsider's point of view, your police department needs better funding.
I'm trying to, you just asked the question that I was going to ask about more police in the community. And I wanted to know what your city council, the mayor, and all we're going to do about hiring more and then giving them a decent salary. We need really some strong police force in the neighborhood where I live, in all of the areas. A lot of times we don't even see police coming through, and you got thugs standing on the street, on the corner, in groups. Y'all can call it profiling or whatever you want to call it, but you need to start asking questions and searching, because a lot of times they don't even belong in the neighborhood. They abandon houses, they break into houses and use that for their drug deal and the activities. And then all of a sudden they get mad with each other and start shooting, and we have to die on the floor. You know, I'm old, I'm 66 years old, retired, and can't even have a peaceful retirement because of all of the activities in the neighborhood. Too old to move, ain't nobody got no money to buy a new house and move. We don't need to move, the thugs need to move. And we need to have the police force to work with us to move them out. Also, killing. There's too many murders in Selma, Alabama. Selma is too small to not solve some of this murder around here. Too small. And I can sympathize with some of the parents because I've lost a loved one. But also, the police force need PR person or somebody to come to the family and talk to the family when something happens. Not let it go and we don't know what's going on. Nobody have talked and told us nothing. It's just like another black child is dead and nobody cares. Well, I'm not going to be that type of mother. They picked the wrong mother because I'm not going to sit still and then just let it go. Number two, I said about the police force. People need the truancy. Hudson High is right down the street from my house. You ought to see the little children coming, throwing rocks, breaking windows at some of the abandoned houses, cursing and carrying on. And no one, used to be some of the principal or teachers walking all the way to Broad Street. But they don't hardly do that anymore. You need a truancy officer. We need truancy officers around here. We need truancy officers when these students are, not even in school and they hanging out. We need somebody to, keep them in line. Trash all down the streets. We live on the corner of First Avenue and Lauderdale. My husband, every morning, get on the corner and pick up trash from our street all the way to Church Street. Because when we don't pick it up, the wind gonna blow it in our yard. So we clean the whole area. That store down there, first it was a blessing, because when Mr. Cook had that store, it was clean and no problem. Now, the people that's in it now, people coming and throwing their trash in the dumpsters. Trash all down the street, potholes. Selma didn't used to be like that. I was born and raised in Selma, even though I left and moved out of town for years. And I come back to here. Yeah, it's a historic town. But the people in the community also got to start standing up and start speaking up when they see crime. And then stop vilifying people when they speak up and tell about the crimes that happen around here. I don't care whether you're black or white. And I have written reports stating that. All of these leaders around here, when a white cop or somebody do something to you, here you are with signs marching, talking about injustice. But when your own kind kill each other, nobody says a word.
Councilwoman, she deserves an opportunity for her issues to be addressed. She's been more than patient. First, let me give a couple of apologies. Eric, I apologize for not recognizing you a while ago. You're here so much that we just thought you were on payroll. So we appreciate you for being here. And Reverend, thank you. You brought up a very good point. We got to isolate ideas and solutions, and as a former legislator, you're saying the right word, line item, that's key. I asked President Bowie, and he was kind of gracious enough to give me an opportunity to speak a little business tonight, because I owe that to my officers, that we've got to talk about those issues. But thank you for your advocacy and your support. I think the meeting the other day was a great opportunity, and you lived up to a commitment, and I appreciate that. We look forward to that event. Ma'am, I can tell you, no one can fully understand what you're going through until you go through it. So I can tell you that we've improved the clearance rate. It's 60 or 70%. When I got here, it was around 20%. But unless it's 100%, it's no good to you, and I understand that. I fully understand that. I can tell you that in receiving your communication, the captain and I I've met with the CID commander about that case, and I more than willing to take time that's convenient for you to sit down and speak with you. One of the assets that I think using the ministerial association that we can do is leaning on them who have better training. We're not trained social workers, but sometimes we have to be. So we just do the best we can. But I think that's where we can partnership with the ministerial association and then act in a situation like you experienced and utilize them to help communicate what's going on with the case or what you're experiencing. But again, you're living through it. And so unless we live through it, we'll never understand what you're dealing with. So your issues are valid, and we're working hard to solve not just that homicide, but the other homicides in 2018 that we did not resolve. The truancy, it's a very good statement you made. We are very close, and I'm careful not to give details, but I have to wait for one governmental entity to approve it before I can ask the other governmental entity to approve it. We're real close to a joint agreement with the Selma school system, city school system, that's going to provide significant manpower, police officers dedicated solely to the school system. Number one. Number two, we can do a better job, and these officers go from call to call. I know because I get out and work with them. There's times that the supervisor's out, I run the ship myself. It's call to call to call. But we're not on call. It's really as simple as during the day, if it's a school day, and they're walking down the street, and they're 14 years old, we got to pull over and say, why aren't you in school? By the way, get in, and we're going to bring you there. It's a very good point, and small steps like that can prevent that situation into turning into something absolutely horrible. And then he said something, Mr. Moore, who has been very gracious with his time, he and I had a very heart-to-heart conversation, and I think it was great. It was good dialogue. But one of the things I expressed, and I think it's important, all of Selma has to understand what it's like to deal with shootings into homes, if not nightly, at least on a weekly basis. Reverend, you mentioned GWC. After one of the ambushes in 2018, we literally landed a Black Hawk in GWC. And you know who our biggest cheerleaders were? The residents. It was the residents in doing that. And I had a resident cheer with me. She said, Chief, I've got a brand new bed, and I've never slept in it a night because there's so much shooting going on. All of Selma has to recognize that. From a law enforcement standpoint, we have to, just like the medical field, we have to triage. So when those calls come in, it doesn't mean that property crime is not important. It is important. But that shots fired call, we've got to get to it. We've got to. I can't tell you I can't divulge law enforcement sensitive things. We're putting together with the right federal agency, the right partnerships with the right equipment. It's some of the most innovative stuff I've ever seen in my law enforcement career. We're close, we're oh so close. But again, none of that will compensate for the loss you guys have had to deal with. But I appreciate you advocating on behalf of the police department. Thank you. Oh, yes, ma'am.
That's another thing. The young guys walking around here with backpacks, they ain't in school, and they not reading. There's no books in them. Need to be searched because a lot of times that's their little drugs or their guns and stuff like that. When you see them walking around with backpacks, they not going to school and they not reading. Yes, ma'am.
Well, and again, I think it goes back to just as simple as us identifying, hey, he looks 13 or 14, it's Tuesday. Why am he in school and getting out with him? These guys do that. I can tell you this week, they have made, just by simply being present, knowing who some of the most wanted individuals in Selma are, and identifying them this week. I'm not going to name names. I'll put a press release out later for that. we made significant arrests and took dangerous individuals off the street. And hey, listen, let's lay the hay down when the goats can get it. These are shot callers. I mean, these are the guys that's leading these 15, 16, 17, 18-year-olds to commit these murders, to shooting in these homes. Well, those guys right back there got one of the most wanted of those individuals up this week, and they put their life on the line in the process.
May I ask you a question, please? My daughter is the congresswoman, and
I know who you are,
man. She came to Selma one day last year. She was trying to encourage you all to apply for a grant that will provide monies that will help you increase your law enforcement officer, your number, and the quality. And so, do you have plans? Do you all have plans to, are you applying for some of those funds?
Yes, ma'am. This fiscal year, we got our largest burn jag grant that the police department's ever.
So you've already got it?
Oh, yes, ma'am. And we are using it. These guys are working daytime as their normal jobs, and nighttime they're on patrol. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
This will be the last question, Councilwoman Thomas, and I'm quite sure that Chief Collier and Mr. Moore will stick around after we close it out. Okay, you said it's 7:30, but if you have a question.
I will let her have it.
You let
Let her
okay.
have it. I'll take it.
Okay, I tell you what, I tell you.
My question's here.
Okay.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Deborah Reeves Howard. And I come here because I'm concerned about Selma. When we say that we have a public safety committee, public safety is not just about crime, criminals, shooting. Public safety is also about a lady in a house on fire and the fire truck having to go over. So we have a lot when we talk about public safety. As far as my public safety, I don't depend on the Selma Police Department. I love the Selma Police Department because it's a part of Selma. But I have gone to Chief Collier's office twice and left messages for him to call me about things that were deeply concerning me. And I haven't gotten a call yet. I don't know who I'm supposed to go to. I was told go to his assistant chief, and then it was a lady. I don't know who to go to. If I need to talk to somebody, I will talk to my grandson. That's who I will talk to. But we also, if you want us to give our money, and give our money, show us some accountability, transparency. We don't need to keep putting money on top of money that may be misused. I hope, Councilman Bowie, that we will get an account of what we have before we look at this past and tax. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Howard.
Thank you, Ms. Howard, and I'll be brief. I clearly heard you, and we know each other, but also tell the other side. I mean, we literally text with each other at 2 and 3 in the morning. So I just ask you to tell both sides. We know each other, and you know we've texted at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. I prayed for you before a night before surgery. So let's be fair and tell both sides. But seeing that, I'm here tonight, so as soon as this is over, I think Council President's trying to get this wrapped up. You and I, we can talk directly.
Say yes, you said say both sides. When you came here, I was your biggest critic. You know that. We used to talk 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning. We did. But when I started coming after Ariel Nelson because I thought he was being wrong, then you stopped talking to me.
Ma'am, you and I will talk right after this, but I mean, I talk to all citizens, and I'll be happy to speak with you. So, thank you for letting me do some business and get off the agenda tonight, Mr. President. I appreciate it.
Okay, we will have Councilwoman Benner, the young man standing up, and this will be our last question. Okay.
Thank you, Joel. I know you got a hot date at 7:30, but you're gonna be a little late tonight. Two things I just want to mention. The police precinct over in GWC home. What is this standing there for? I thought it was put there for police to be used there 24/7. No police never go over there. Wait, I got one more one for this one. But that building needs to be used. There's too much of crime over there. And if the police was over there visible, I think that would help out. A lot of times the reason for putting the percentage over there. And the weed and seed. When I was on the council, now we had a weed and seed. The criminals have too many places to hide. All these trees and bushes and everything. We had trees cut down over there on Washington Street. You can see, I can stand on Green Street and look all the way down across the Washington Railroad down Washington Street. They cleaned out all those trees. Well, all these trees that, so the criminals don't have nowhere to hide. But now they can hide anywhere. They can lay down in the weeds out there and y'all will never find them because there's too many of them. And that's what the weed and seed did at that time. I mean, it weeded out everything. When they weeded out those trees and things, they weeded out those criminals. Thank you. And I am Assistant James Miller.
I want to address the precinct. We do use one shift out of there, but I'm going to be very candid. There was a time in 2018, 2017 and 2018, where I had to make a decision. It was literally when people were taking shots at my officers just randomly, I had to just pull them out. Are you guys aware that just last year, or 14, 15 months ago, we lost control of GWC and had to call for assistance from as far away as the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office? We're the largest agency from Tuscaloosa to Mobile on the western side. So it's, you know, it's a tough spot to be in to have to call Sheriff Cunningham and say, Sheriff, can you send your guys 60 miles to help us retake a housing project where our guys have been shot at, one incident over 200 times. So we made a decision then that it's probably unsafe. We feel much better about that, and we probably can reopen that, but I want to make sure it's safe. Not safe from the standpoint of walking around. What I'm talking about is the shootings that we're getting. People are literally from hidden positions or just taking, it's not like they're doing it in an act of being courageous. They're cowardly hiding in a building shooting or running around a building, and we've got video of it, running around a building and shooting at us while we're trying to effect an arrest, and then run and hide in a home. So I was very concerned about our officers and then just taking crack shots at our officers, so we had to make a safety decision. And saying that, we've made progress in GWC. A huge difference is, as I mentioned earlier, is the new executive director there, so we feel comfortable that moving forward, then we can probably restaff that to where it should be. So, Mr. Bowie gave me the answer to your other question, to be honest with you, as I was answering the first, I forgot, he did say that he's working with Mr. Van Diver to address the second part of the issue that you brought up. Let's wrap it up, Mr. President.
Have one more, the last one.
Probably won't make any friends here, but I want to address the funding of our public safety. We know it's woefully underfunded. It has been. In 2016, our council imposed a half-cent increase in our sales tax. When you say half-cent, that's about a 12% increase in the money we pay. That was sold to the public that would be dedicated to fund public safety, increases in salary and equipment. As far as I know, and maybe I can be corrected, none of that money ever went to public safety. Because we don't know, because we don't have any accountability from our city government. Now, there's been a drumbeat for the last 6 months, more revenue, we need more revenue, but there's no accountability for that. Why should we believe that any more funds dedicated will go to public safety? You know, first time shame on you, on me. First time shame on you, second time shame on me. You say the will of the people is the problem. I say malfeasance in our city government is our real problem.
Man, as you answer that, thank you for those comments there. I do want to point out, and again, I have to keep in mind, I don't know how to, we've got over 60 city employees that were laid off. But also keep in mind, under this budget, we were cut from 60 positions to 45. So that's a tremendous cut. So we're doing the best we can. 45 positions. Yes, ma'am. So what has been a godsend, Mrs. Sewell, is that grant this year that we got, where I'm able to pay these guys to work sometimes 2 shifts. Yes, ma'am. I know you've been ready.
It's not even pertaining to you, it's more of, I kept telling Mr. Bowie he could have stayed over here. Because I wanted to piggyback on some of the other things some of the other people were saying, but my question is, what can our councilmen do to hold people that have abandoned houses here in Selma responsible for their property? Because that's the problem that I'm having in my neighborhood. I have too many abandoned houses over there, and like today, a young man was trying to break in a car that's in an abandoned house. But then once we see him, what he do? He runs in the abandoned house so we can't see his face and then take out the running. But you don't want to call the police because you see somebody running into an abandoned house. But I feel that the citizens that have all these abandoned houses, if they're not going to renovate them, fix them up, pay somebody to tear them down and clean off the lots. I would rather go to have empty lots than to have all these abandoned houses in the neighborhood. And because I've been in Selma all my life, and God knows I do not want to leave Selma. My son has 1 more year in school. I got approved to buy a house. And now I'm twisting between, do I buy a house in Selma or leave Selma? Selma is home for me. I don't want to leave home. But I just feel that the councilman needs to come up with something and to find out who own all these abandoned houses. If you can't afford to fix them up, and if they air property and your family don't want to come and pay taxes, give it to the city, clean off the lots, and I would rather have an abandoned lot next to me than an abandoned house and I can see around me. I got 3 abandoned houses just right next door to me that have been shot up or burned or something like that. And then one more thing, my biggest concern is our fire departments. We need at least 56 firemen in order to staff our fire department. We're down to like 20-some fire departments, so that's over half staff. We don't even have enough staff to run them rescue trucks. And they keep bringing up the same thing every meeting. We're understaffed. Okay. It ain't gonna really hit until it hit one of your family members. I drive every day for a living. I'm coming out of 65 today. One girl sideswiped one girl and she hit the brick wall and her car flipped. But guess what? If we get trapped in a car around here, we don't even have firefighters to come in. They got to get off one truck, to get on another truck. By the time they get to me to come and cut me out, I'm dead. Don't nobody care because it ain't really hitting home. And until it hit home, it doesn't matter. I just feel like something needs to be done ASAP for our fire departments. Those guys are working 2 days and off 1 day. You think about it. They're not even off a good 24 hours, especially for our guys that have to drive out of Selma to get home. It takes you an hour to drive to Montgomery. It takes you an hour and something to get over in Montgomery. We even have guys here that's from Tuscaloosa. At first they was leaving because of lack of pay. Now they're leaving because they're overworked, because they're not getting their overtime. And I'm gonna be honest with you. Stress, mental depression, it is real. You think about, you don't work 2 days, you off 1 day. Well, if you got a doctor's appointment or something to do in that 1 day, your whole day is gone. You ain't had time to do your honey-do list, and it's becoming stressful to the families.
Let me thank you for your questions. Number one, we're currently trying to have 9 part-time firefighters. Within the next few weeks, we hopefully will be bringing them on so that would help alleviate some of the stress. Second, about the code enforcement, as soon as we bring back the workers with the code enforcement department, maybe we can start looking at tearing down some of the houses. But currently, the code enforcement is non-existent now due to the layoff. So hopefully we can bring back the code enforcement and we can move forward. Thank you everyone for coming out tonight, and I hope that you listen out for the next time and date of our next meeting. Again, thank you for coming out.
Howard. I think the problem is I have a new phone and I don't have yours. So maybe I'm not recognizing you. Will you give me your number again? Will you give me your number again so I can let me, I'll get you programmed in. That way I know it's, you know, I'm always there. I did take some time. I had to stroll.